Okay, it is a 0. Correct? Okay. In the line below that, I want you to put in the equation, leaving the y equals x, but putting in the equation. I want you to put in y equals x plus 2. You have another graph that is there, right? What can you tell me about the difference between your original graph, which happened to be this one, and this graph? You have a y-intercept of 2. What about the slope? It stayed exactly the same, didn't it? Right? So they happen to be parallel. But what happened with the basic graph from here to here? Didn't all the points on this one just slide up 2? Right? The point that was here moved up 2, the point that was here moved up 2, the point that was here moved up 2, right? Where did that 2 come from? It came from this 2 that is right here. That's a transformation. This is the parent graph. This one is a transformation because I added 2 to it, which meant that it moved up 2. It transformed from the original parent up to here, just by adding the 2. Well, let's go to another one. Let's put in y equals let's try 3x helps if you put it in right. What should change on this one if we're just looking at it? Still should go through 0, shouldn't it? But the slope should change to 3 over 1. Okay, so did it change to 3 over 1? Okay, it went through 0, didn't it? Has a slope of 3, so it has to go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Did it do that? Okay. What if I change this graph and change it to y equals x? Didn't get it in. Minus 1. What do you think will happen? Should be the same graph as the y equals 3x, shouldn't it? It should be parallel because it has the same slope, doesn't it? And it should be transformed down 1 unit. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Is it? Okay. We're going to make another transformation. Let's take the y equals 3x. Let's make it y equals a negative 1/3 x. You should be able to tell me exactly what's going to happen before it actually does. It's going to be a perpendicular, isn't it? Does it turn out to be perpendicular? When you put in the y equals 1/3 x?
Yeah, maybe the curve Yeah, it's there. It's supposed to be there? How do you look out of the fraction?
And I forgot the negative sign.
You can put the X by 3 for the space and then the X after.
Probably the best way to put it into your calculator would be with parentheses around the negative 1/3. Or else it's going to read it as a negative 1 times 3x. Okay? So you see that I have parentheses around it? Do I have a perpendicular line? Goes through the origin, doesn't it? Does it have a slope of a negative 1/3? In other words, it goes up 1 and goes to the left 3. Okay? Righty? That transformations that take place with linear equations. Okay? That happens to be linear equation transformation. Let's erase all of those. On a tablet, it's not as easy as it is on a computer. Okay, let's put in y equals absolute value of x. How did we do absolute value yesterday? We went over to functions, I believe. Use ABS of x. Does that graph make sense? Should be a V, shouldn't it? Right? Okay? Should be a V, should be around the origin, should come down here, so if I set up an XY table, it would be that place, right? Okay? Let's change the to, if we add a function, we are going to do y equals absolute value of x, and I'm going to put on the outside of the parentheses a +2. What happened with your absolute value? Okay, so as long as I have the +2 outside of the absolute value, it's going to move up or down that many units. So if it's +2, it's going to move up 2 units from where it was originally. If this was a -5, what? It would move down 5. So on this part of it, the +2 makes it go up or down on the y-axis. So now we're going to add another function, and we're going to put in y equals function absolute value of x plus 1. We now have this graph, correct? What happened with that graph compared to the parent one? Which direction? Okay, so whenever we put something inside the absolute value, like here I put a +1, it is going to move it left or right. In this case, it moves the opposite direction of what the sign is. So if this was a +1, it's going to move to the left 1. Well, what happens if I add a function to this? And let's put in equals absolute value of x minus 3. What direction should it move? Did it? Okay. So we're going to add one more. And before you put it completely in, we're going to type in y equals absolute, before you type it in, absolute value of x minus 1, all that in the absolute value, plus 2. What do you think it's going to look like?
Plus 1?
It'll go to the right 1.
No, it'll go to the... She said minus 1.
If I said absolute value of x minus 1.
It'll go to the right 1 and up 2.
Okay? See if you're right. Got a lot of these. Oops.
Oh, I
Be this one? Right? Okay. Did it move to the right 1 and up 2 from the origin? Okay, before we get any more confusing graphs here, erase all of those.
There's little X's of learning completion, get rid of them. Yeah.
Which corner?
The right.
The equation box there, there's little X's in the top right corner.
Here?
Well, you can do that.
I'm running off the tablet, not your Chromebook, so it's a little different. Okay, let's put in y equals a negative absolute value of x. What does the negative sign do? It actually flips the entire graph upside down, doesn't it? It looks like your original y equals absolute value of x, but it turned it upside down. Okay? Well, I have to stop this for a second.